bopping along to the music. When you hear the music, you know it's that time of the week. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night. Wherever you are in the world, you are very welcome virtually to the Mythical Ireland Library for episode number 322 of Live Irish Myths. I am your host, Anthony Murphy, and this evening we're departing. We have been reading for a long time A Social History of Ancient Ireland by P.W. Joyce. Having completed volume 1 of that book 2 weeks ago, I had to pick something else out of the library. So I decided to pick Celtic Twilight, Myth, Fantasy and Folklore by none other than the great W.B. Yeats, a very, very famous, renowned late poet of Ireland. I hope that you enjoy the next hour to hour and a half as we delve deeply into the mythical and folkloric past of Ireland. If you're watching, whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, please do comment. Join in the conversation. You'll be made to feel very welcome. This live stream has been broadcast on a weekly basis for the past 4.5 years. But initially, during the outbreak of the COVID pandemic back in 2020, it was a daily occurrence for 103 episodes, I think. Anyway, some of you have been here for the entire journey. Some of you are later joiners, but you're all very welcome. And of course, don't forget that all of the live streams are available to rewatch on the Mythical Ireland YouTube channel. It's not difficult to find us. youtube.com/Mythical Ireland, I think, should take you directly there. As usual, a special plea, please do support the work of Mythical Ireland. The very best way you can do that is to become a paying patron, and the address is scrolling along the bottom of the screen throughout the broadcast, patreon.com/Mythical Ireland. In other news, this year's Newgrange Farm Archaeological Park and Newgrange Chamber tours have been launched, and the dates selected for those. If you're interested in joining us on a voyage of discovery through 5,000 years of history, myth, and archaeology, then this is the one for you. I'll paste the link where you can book your tickets for this year's tours twice monthly. The difference this year is that each month there's a Tuesday tour, but there's a Friday tour as well. So for the past 2 years, they've been Tuesdays only. This year, thanks to some flexibility from the OPW, we are able to get inside Newgrange on a Friday on some of the dates. But to check out the dates, head over to the link that I've just shared. It's mythicalireland.com. And if you go to the tours page, you'll get all the information there. I'm looking forward to meeting you, some of you, on the tours this year. First in the house this evening to say hello is Tuesday Thompson, wishing us all a happy Mythology Monday. Watching on YouTube, a very good evening to you. Tuesday, a very happy Monday evening. We have reverted to usual form because, as you know, for a couple of weeks there, we were postponing from Monday to Tuesday. We're now back to the normal Monday slot. Lily Shamble says, hope all are well. Shout up tonight, please. I'm busy cooking. Excellent. I wonder what you're cooking, and is it going to be shareable? Are we going to be able to taste these delights? Lily, don't you have a volume adjustment? Yes, indeed. Elaine Dentlingenfelter is here also, saying hello from Texas, where it is a beautiful day, 27 degrees Celsius, with sunshine and a nice breeze. Well, after a few weeks of dry, sunny, warm weather, we finally have had some rain in the past couple of days. It's feeling more like Irish April here now. Temperatures have dropped a bit, and as I say, some moisture in the air. As I look out, big dark clouds hanging around, but I see they're being kind of lit up by the low sun. Sunset this evening, I think, is around 8:30 or so. 25 past. So the evenings are extending. We've got natural light coming in for the past few weeks as we start the stream, which is wonderful. Joe Butler, Auntie Joe, is in Colorado. I hope the mighty Tua enjoy themselves during Mythflix. Yes, indeed. I hope you also enjoy it, Joe. Thank you for all your work in the background. Michael Pike asks if anyone is there. Yes, indeed. Loads of people, Michael. Good evening, good afternoon to you. Alan Hoskins says, good evening, everyone from a still sunny Ballina-Killaloe. Hope all are keeping well since we last met here. All good. Alan, have you had any rain showers today, or have you managed to avoid them? Rocio Marian Lopez is saying, hi, everyone from the sunny Mexico, sending warm hugs to all the Tua. Brilliant stuff. A very good afternoon to you, Rocio, and all our friends in Mexico. Mavanwe Millward is saying, good evening, Tua and Anthony Murphy. Hope you're all well. I'm very glad to finally catch you back on a Monday. Well, we're very glad to have you here. Yes, indeed. Hope you enjoyed tonight's live stream, Mavanwe, and a big welcome to you as always. A big hello from Dallas, Texas, from Johnny Wilson. It's 29 degrees and sunny today. Well, I think we got a maximum of 20 last week. It might have hit 21. And we started to feel like, hey, we could get used to this summer in spring. But of course, all good things must come to an end. And it did. And I hear the pitter-patter of raindrops on the ceiling here. Barbara Murphy is saying, hello, everyone from a too warm Tucson. Expected mid-90s. Wow. Well, chop a few degrees off, distribute them around the place. Some of us will be very glad to have them. Rex Fortenberry says, all hail, mighty Tua. It's great to be here amongst happy friends, enjoying a warmish 81 Fahrenheit, but dry day here in swampy Louisiana. Let's get miffin. Dry, as in, is the humidity down, Rex? Silent Pilgrim says, here we go again. Yes, indeed. Whatever that smiley face is, it's full of joy and anticipation, I'm sure. Lexi Erickson is here. Hi, I'm here. Hello, Anthony, Tom, and the mighty Tua. It's 11 Celsius in Denver, 52 F. But we had snow this morning, springtime in the Rocky Mountains. Wow, snow. Like snow for us is like months ago, and only the tiniest little flurry of it, you know. Jacqueline Kelly Adams is in the house. Hope you all are well. Coming from a sunny and warm Columbia Gorge in Oregon. And a very good early afternoon to you, Jacqueline. Just, 11 minutes past midday there in the Pacific Northwest. Always a pleasure to see your name coming up on the stream, and I hope you're keeping in good form. Hello, everybody, says Lucas Sicardi. For once, a book that I have actually read. Brilliant stuff. And hope the reread is as good as the first time round. Lucas, is that name Italian? Are you the one that I say buonasera or buona serata? We had lovely weather in Wales for the gardening, but back to freezing now. Yeah, we're having nighttime frosts too. Michael Pike is excited because it's Mythical Monday. What do we call it when it's Tuesday? Tail time Tuesday. Desiree Riley's in the house. Hello to all the two. Happy to be tuning in with everyone. Well, we're happy. Are you staying this week? Do we have your full and undivided attention for the whole episode? Desiree, it's always a pleasure. Of course. Kieran Burns is saying hello from Birmingham. A very good evening to you, Kieran. I hope it's not too wet and damp and all of that over there. So excited, says Tuesday. I love Yeats. Brilliant stuff. I knew it was a good choice, and wait till you hear it and then we'll see how we get on. Ali is saying hello from sunny and hot Tucson. Again, feel free to shave off a few degrees and send them over the Atlantic in this direction. We'll not say no. Very good afternoon to you, Ali. Thanks for joining us. I'm finding that once again, this is Michael Pike helping me deal with the crazy BS that is bombarding us daily. You bring a sense of reality and positive information. The dad jokes have really been a tonic. Yes, indeed. You've prompted me to get a couple ready for those who don't follow me on the old, you know yourself. Rory O'Brien is saying good evening all from April showery Cabinteely. A very good evening, Rory, and I hope not too many showers. I'm hoping the forecast is, heavy showers during the day. If you want sun, generally before midday is the best time, in this part of Ireland, especially in the east, because the showers tend to drift across from the west. And then they say they die out in the evening time, so hopefully we'll get half an hour of sunshine, although, as I say, dark clouds out there just at the moment. Joseph O'Keirda says, bonsoir et bonne chance. You must be in France, Joseph. Trononoa, bonsoir, mon ami. You are very welcome. What's the other one? The more, when a friend is considered sort of closer, it's mon copain, isn't it? Lily is saying, volume cranked up to 11. This one goes up to 11. Maybe I need more cowbell. Lamb roast dinner tonight. The amount I cook, there's plenty for all. Right. Lily, give us your address. We'll be there now in half an hour. Why don't we have the live stream from a banquet table in Lily's house? Sue Prenter is in the house. Evening all, finding a few quiet moments to join you. Have my daughter and 2 grandchildren staying for Easter. I know some of Julia's friends follow Mythical Ireland. Best wishes to you all. XXXX. Brilliant. Lovely to see you, Sue, by the way. Hope you're in good form. And we might see you down here during the summer for 1 or 2 of the tours. A quick shower earlier today, says Alan, but not much to write home about. A bit cooler though, more like April. Yeah, we were totally spoilt there for a while. And consequently, I may have told you this. I have a correspondent in Lisbon, in Portugal, and he tells me, or at least in the last letter I received from him, he told me that they had pretty much their wettest spring on record. And I think it's just got something to do with the Atlantic airflow, where the lows come up to us, the highs float in across Iberia and Northern Africa, and they've just switched. So they're getting the lows with all the rain-bearing clouds, and we've been getting the highs. Of course, it seems to have switched back now. And you may have seen some headlines about Lanzarote, flooding in Lanzarote. I never heard of it. Anne McCallum is in the house. Hello, Antone and all the mighty Tua. Hope everyone's in good form, staying warm and dry. It was sunny earlier, but now it's overcast and windy. But it's 21 Celsius, feeling like 16. That sounds very Irish. We have to enjoy it while we can, because tomorrow morning it'll be windy and 5 Celsius. As always, looking forward to the live stream. Yeah, that does sound very Irish. On my way to Oma on Saturday for brass banding activities, we passed a hotel called the Four Seasons Hotel in Monaghan Town. And I just thought, what a brilliant name for a hotel in Ireland, because that's what you're likely to see in a single day if you happen to be in Ireland for any reason, whether it's winter or summer. Brendan Byrne says, greetings, earthlings, from the Valley of the Two Lakes, Glendalough, or as we know it, Glendalough. Brendan, a very good evening to you. Good of you to join us. Delighted to see you. Amanda June Haggerty is saying, in the Pacific Northeast, is that right? PNE? No, PNW, I presume, because W and E are right beside each other on the QWERTY keyboard. In the PNE, I presume PNW, we had a warm stretch last week, but this weekend we had frost warnings overnight, and I had to bring my pomegranate tree inside, which I thought I was done with. Now it's sunny and 58 at 12 p.m. Yeah, it's kind of weird like that. That sounds, again, very Irish, because although we were having very warm sunny weather, we were told careful of the plants, and the gardeners were told frost at night, so be careful. Didn't check the temperature, but it's just 21:12, and the moon is an absolute clear sky, shines like a copper disc. Oh yeah, it must be approaching full moon. Is it full moon, or is it nearly? It's nearly full, isn't it? I think. Johnny says, nearly late, just made it. Hi everyone, good evening, good afternoon, Johnny. Watching on YouTube, thank you. 50% humidity, says Rex. Woohoo! That's a big deal. I mean, that's low in comparison to the 90% you often have. I would happily exchange warmth for rain, says Barbara. We have had 0.11 inches of rain since sometime last November. No, this is not normal. We should have had almost 3 inches just this year. Wow. Yeah. So we complain about the rain in Ireland, but we're so lucky. I mean, that's why the country's so green all the time. Rossio saying, by the way, I managed to help a little more to Desiree Riley's brother's GoFundMe. I'm sorry that I only did it recently. Yeah, and if somebody can share that link again, that would be brilliant. We'll try to see if we can get a few more helpers. That's Desiree's brother is having surgery for a very serious form of cancer. And we'd like to do our best to help him, because although he's not one of the Tua, he's the brother of one of our fondest Tua, and that's important. So let's do what we can to help. Michael Trott is saying, greetings, mighty Tua, from 7:15 Troubadour Tuesday in New Zealand. The kettle's on for tea and the crack 22 Celsius, cloudy and howdy. 22 Celsius, 7:15 in the morning. Wow, nice. That's all I can say. Michael, a very good morning to you. Happy Tuesday to you from all of us here, still in Monday. But B. Jordan, I presume that's Barb. Hello, Barb. Great to see you. I'm in Oma, says Johnny. Wow, I was in the, what's it called? The Struhl Art Centre, or the Struhl Theatre. Struhl, S-T-R-U-L-E, I think, on Saturday, playing in the Spring Festival band competition. And yeah, it was a nice day. Came third. Happy. Mavanwi, we are never satisfied. Too cold, too dry, too wet, and often too windy. Yeah. Not that kind of wind. I'll be in Louisiana by Friday. Yay. So ready for my visit home. Brilliant stuff. Safe travels. Full pink moon was on Saturday the 12th of April. Okay, so it's past full moon. Thank you for the information, Steve. And hello, Steve Martinson. A very good afternoon/evening to you. I think full moon was Saturday. Could be wrong, though. I'm shocked to be honest, that I don't know. I normally know exactly what day it is in the lunar month. I'm a bit old-fashioned like that. And when I say old-fashioned, I mean Neolithic old-fashioned. Last Saturday was the pink full moon. Yes, indeed. I think it was Saturday, says Barb. Yeah, full moon last night. Now 97% waning gibbous, according to my moon app. Well, that's what I was actually going to check. Isn't it shocking that I need to check an app on my phone that I don't just auto... Oh, excuse me. Uh-oh. Oh, hope that's not the hiccups. That could be fun. Do, 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 do. 97%, yes, indeed, waning gibbous. Moonrise 22:41, moonset 06:31. Next full moon 27.9 days. Next new moon 13.0 days. Age of the moon 16.3 days. Wow. In the Neolithic, you'd just automatically know all those things, although I doubt very much you would be using the percentages. But anyway. Is your middle name Goldilocks? Sturl. Is it Sturl or Strull? Yes, that one, Johnny. Nice place, nice venue. And unlike other theatres and halls that I've played in, not too warm. Nice bit of breeze, bit of a cool breeze through the place. Desiree is giving us an update. Thank you so much. He's doing well with his radiation treatment so far. Thank you. And all the two that have donated. My brother and family are so overwhelmed by the kindness everyone has shown. Y'all are so kind. And I will finally get to see my dear brother by the end of the week, when I travel back to visit Louisiana. And they're letting him travel back to Louisiana on the weekends. Brilliant stuff. Thanks for the update, Desiree. And if somebody shares the link, we'll try and get a few more donations in and help him out. Heather Marie Leaning is saying, evening to Anthony and Tom King. Hope everybody is well. Yes, indeed. All good, Heather Marie. Great to see you, by the way. Congrats on coming third, Anthony. Hey, it's not even my regular band. I was just helping out. But a great bunch and a lovely welcoming crew up in Laganvale Metal Technology Band. They're based in Belfast. Guess where they are? They're about 100, maybe 200 feet from the Lagan River. Aptly named. I was saying Barbara was right. Just to clarify, my middle name isn't Goldilocks, says Mavanwe. Adina Sparks is telling us that it's 75F in New Mexico. Full moon was nice to see. What is 75? That has to be around the early 20s, isn't it? 24, almost 24. Yeah, very nice. Amanda June, looked to see if I had any Yeats. My father-in-law got his PhD in English at Trinity College, so I have quite a few of his old Irish books. All I could find was the Irish Fairy book. Yeah, I have a few bits and pieces. I've moved things around lately. You may know, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we had a fairly major tidy up. And now there's very few books blocking other books, so now I can actually access my my library. So Desiree has shared the GoFundMe link. So folks, that's just a little plea with you that if you can spare it, our great friend and staunch supporter Desiree, who has been watching these live streams since 2020, her brother is undergoing a quite serious treatment, and that brings a lot of expense, as you can imagine. If you can spare $10, $20, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $10,000, etc., etc., head on over and do what you can to help him out. Great to join you, says Catherine Cleary. Late due to a 5.2 earthquake in San Diego. I'm on the 24th floor, so quite a lot of shaking and swaying. Wow. I've been in some big ones, and this one was a bit scary. Yikes. Elevators not working, etc. Hope you're safe and that you still have power and water and that you're okay, Catherine. Great that you're able to join us, by the way, having just been swaying from side to side. Yeah, I can't imagine what that must be like. Strull, says Johnny. Yeah, thanks indeed. Is that how it's pronounced? Brilliant stuff. Evania Lee is joining us. Morena Mighty Tua from the mighty Waikato had an oak tree limb come down hard on my house. Neighbours came out to see and make sure I was okay. And obviously you are okay. And I hope that is the case. And sorry for the damage if there was any caused. Now let me see if I can just reshare this GoFundMe, because Desiree shared it on Facebook, but I'm going to share it so that it appears both on Facebook and on YouTube. If any of you have a tenner or 20 or 50 or 100 or whatever to spare, do. The Struel River. Yes. Struel. I wonder what that means. I mean, I wonder what it's anglicized. It's probably an Irish name. Most river names, even in the north, are derived from Irish. Speaking of which, I got two, among many acquisitions, I got two very interesting books that I wanted to show you just before we start reading Yeats' Celtic Twilight. I got a book that was originally published, I think, in the 1940s and has been republished many times since. Let me just check. Yes, 1942. The Great O'Neill by Sean O'Faolain. Brilliant. I've read the first 20 pages of it and I'm already enthralled. Brilliant writer. And of course, this is about, well, the Great O'Neill was a title given to the chiefs of the O'Neills in the 16th century. But of course, the one that we would know best and have mentioned on many a live stream is Hugh O'Neill, who signed the Treaty of Mellifont in 1603, just a few miles away here. So I'm going to keep reading that, and I'll give you some sort of a review. Maybe we might read a bit of that at some point. The other is, so to add to my small collection of books about surnames, I stumbled across this wonderful book called The Book of Ulster Surnames by Robert Bell. And of course, there are several books, and I have some of them, about Irish surnames and their origins and their derivation. But as you know, due to events certainly in recent centuries, from particularly the 16th century onwards, we had a lot of plantations. We had a lot of Scottish Presbyterian families planted here, as it were, settling here. We had English Anglican settlers. And so we have, especially in Ulster and Northern Ireland are not the same thing, by the way. Ulster, the province, has 9 counties. Northern Ireland, which is a country within the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, is 6 counties. So don't confuse the two, although there are probably plenty of these names that would apply to places like Donegal and Monaghan and Cavan as well, which are in the province of Ulster, but are not in Northern Ireland. They're in the Republic of Ireland. Anyway, that was first published. When was that first published? Blackstaff Press, Belfast. Published in 1988, reprinted 1990, 1994, 1997, 2003. Kind of not surprised to see that reprinted multiple times. Anyway, Johnny just donated to Jake's GoFundMe. Thanks for the link and bringing it to my attention. It was not a lot, but something. If you can do something, that's enough. Exactly, Johnny. It's not about splashing the cash if you haven't got it. It's about giving what you can give. And I'm sure that will be gratefully received. Deirdre Nichochain is saying, hey, hi, I'm mad painting for my Myths of Ireland exhibition in the Convention Centre in Vancouver, Canada, April 24th. So excited to be inspired by Yeats. Brilliant stuff. I probably won't make it, Deirdre, for reasons that are probably obvious. That's a long way away, but the very best of luck with it. And I'm sure it will be brilliant. Hope you get a great crowd. Sheila Gunn is on. I've missed everyone. Sheila, we haven't seen you in ages. You're so welcome. I hope you're in good form. Fantastic to see you. So this book that we're reading from tonight, The Celtic Twilight, let me introduce it by just reading what's on the back cover. Although renowned, shite a bit of lead on the subject. Shed a bit of light. Oh yes, not forgetting the all-important dad humour. I shouted into a colander yesterday. It strained my voice. Scientists have found that cows produce more milk when the farmer talks when the farmer talks to them. Apparently, it's in one ear and out the other. Although renowned as one of the most famous poets of the 20th century, William Butler Yeats, 1865 to 1939, was also a devoted exponent of the Western mythical and magical traditions. Yeats met with students of the occult in Dublin in the 1880s and was later introduced by his friend Charles Johnson to the Theosophical Society even. Yeats subsequently left the Theosophists and in 1890 was initiated as a ceremonial magician into the Isis Urania temple of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. All sounds very mysterious. Arguably the most influential esoteric order in the Western magical tradition, and for a time became its leader. Yeats exercised a profoundly Celtic influence on his fellow occultists, and his love of Irish folklore is reflected in this book, which was first published in 1893. The Celtic Twilight brings together many of Yeats's most enchanting and mystical tales, a dazzling array of sorcerers, fairies, ghosts, and nature spirits, which draw their inspiration from the visionary heart of Irish folk tradition. This was originally published 50 years after his passing. Time drops in decay like a candle burnt out, and the mountains and woods have their day. But kindly old rout of the fire-born moods, you pass not away. And this one's called... Valentina has joined us from Glastonbury. A very good evening to you, Valentina. I hope it's not too wet and miserable over there. We've had some showers today, but nothing too bad. That's utter daft. Yes, indeed. Apparently, somebody else said you're milking it now. Yes, now I need a dram or two. Or yes, and we're only warming up. The Golden Dawn was founded, I think, but certainly included Aleister Crowley, infamous Wicca/occultist. Says Johnny. Did you have roast frog for dinner tonight, Anthony? You seem to have a bit stuck in your throat. I actually have a bit of a throaty upper chest thing going on this past few days, so forgive me if yeah. Did you ever notice when geese fly in a V formation, one side is always longer than the other? That's because there are more geese on that side. Oh, very good today. Wet and with chilly wind. Summer has been and gone in this part of the world. Hopefully it'll come back again. This is called the hosting of the She. The host is riding from Knocknarea and over the grave of Cluth na Bear, Coilche tossing his burning hair, and Neve calling, away, come away. Empty your heart of its mortal dream. The winds awaken, the leaves whirl round. Our cheeks are pale, our hair is unbound. Our breasts are heaving, our eyes are agleam. Our arms are waving, our lips are apart. And if any gaze on our rushing band, we come between him and the deed of his hand. We come between him and the hope of his heart. The host is rushing twixt night and day, and where is their hope or deed as fair? Coilche tossing his burning hair, and Neve calling, away, come away. Dawn Hilton, I'm not getting my live Irish Bits on Facebook notifications, but I am on YouTube. How odd. Yeah, I told you. If you want to be guaranteed updates from Mythical Ireland, Patreon, Stone Age level. This book, I have desired, like every artist, to create a little world out of the beautiful, pleasant, and significant things of this marred and clumsy world, and to show in a vision something of the face of Ireland to any of my own people who would look where I bid them. I have therefore written down accurately and candidly much that I have heard and seen, except by way of commentary, nothing that I have merely imagined. So it's based on stories that he has heard and things that he has seen and heard himself. And there's a little bit of commentary, but none of it is made up, is what he's saying. I have, however, been at no pains to separate my own beliefs from those of the peasantry, but have rather let my men and women, doles and fairies, go their way unoffended or defended by any argument of mine. The things a man has heard and seen are threads of life, and if he pulls them carefully from the confused distaff of memory, any who will can weave them into whatever garments of belief please them best. I too have woven my garment like another, but I shall try to keep warm in it, and shall be well content if it do not unbecome me. You see, this is why Yeats is so renowned. He was brilliant with words. Hope and Memory have one daughter, and her name is Art. And she has built her dwelling far from the desperate field, where men hang out their garments upon forked boughs to be banners of battle. O beloved daughter of Hope and Memory, be with me for a little. And that's 1893. And then there's a second prologue, which was added in 1902. Wow, 9 years later. I have added a few more chapters in the manner of the old ones, and would have added others, but one loses as one grows older, something of the lightness of one's dreams. One begins to take life up in both hands, and to care more for the fruit than the flower, and that is no great loss, perhaps. In these new chapters, as in the old ones, I have invented nothing but my comments, and one or two deceitful sentences that may keep some poor storyteller's commerce with the devil and his angels, or the like, from being known among his neighbours. I shall publish in a little while a big book about the Commonwealth of Fairy, and shall try to make it systematical and learned enough to buy pardon for this handful of dreams. So we begin our, we have begun, says you. We've begun already, but we begin proper with so some of these stories are short and sweet, a page or two, and some of them are a little bit longer. So we'll read a few of them, see how we get on, and go at a relaxed pace. The book is barely 100 pages, actually it's 120 pages. Teresa Collins has joined us. A very good evening, Teresa. Hope it's not too wet and cold down in the kingdom. Barbara does the right thing, by the way. Barbara sets an alarm for a few minutes before 8 p.m. Drogheda time, then search FB. You wouldn't want... I told you there are the best part of 82,000 followers on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page. I shared earlier on information about the forthcoming Newgrange Farm tours for the summer, and so far 17 likes out of 82,000. Yeah, I think that tells a tale. Thank you, Teresa, for the comment about the reading, by the way. I think it's safe to say that, given its lack of usefulness these days, it should be rebranded Farce Book. I'm only really using it now for the live streams. Pretty much all the updates from now on are going to be on Patreon. A Teller of Tales is the name of this one. Many of the tales in this book were told to me by one Paddy Flynn, a little bright-eyed old man. Shit. What just happened? Okay, so we've lost video, but you're possibly... Okay, would anybody comment? Can you still hear me? That's annoying. Okay, bear with me for Kupla Nomage Macharja Galer. Something has gone amiss. You have lost my ugly face. Hey, I know lots of you are celebrating. Yay. Okay, this is not good. Okay, I'm going to stop the camera. Okay, so you have audio. Okay, thank you, Chris Summers and Johnny and Lily and Teresa. You can still hear me, but you can't see me. Maybe this is the way to go. Maybe the audience is suddenly going to skyrocket. This is not good. Why is the camera not coming back on? Troubleshoot. Looks like your camera is locked by another application, but I haven't been using any other application. Bear with us a moment, folks, while we try to resolve this. I could restart the live stream, but I hate to do that because it means that it won't be recorded as one continuous live stream, and some people may not come back. Okay, I'm going to click the... Okay, just bear with me now. Something did happen there when I troubleshot. When I troubleshot. Why is that not now appearing? That should be appearing. Oh dear. Stop video. Troubleshoot. Can I wait? Come on. So there's me. Yeah. Uh, okay. Is everything good? So apologies. We've had a few technical glitches. I only just started reading. Um, okay, so can you see me and hear me now? To be honest, hearing me is more important. So just trying to get this camera focused. Focus on my blemishes. Okay, we'll try that. That looks good. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. Let us proceed. Many of the tales in this book were told to me by one Paddy Flynn, a little bright-eyed old man who lived in a leaky and one-roomed cabin in the village of Ballasodare, which is, as he was wont to say, quote, the most gentle, unquote, whereby he meant fairy, quote, place in the whole of County Sligo, unquote. Others hold it, however, but second to Drumcliff and Drumahair. The first time I saw him, he was cooking mushrooms for himself. The next time he was asleep under a hedge, smiling in his sleep. He was indeed always cheerful, though I thought I could see in his eyes, brackets, swift as the eyes of a rabbit, when they peered out of their wrinkled holes, unquote, unbracket or close bracket, unbracket, a melancholy which was well nigh a portion of their joy, the visionary melancholy of purely instinctive natures and of all animals. Uh, are you hearing me? Can you hear me? The sound has a little lag. Sound is off, or is it me? Bard. Michael Trott is saying audio question mark. Ugh. 1, 2. My audio is now bad. Okay. Okay. Now, how is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Over, over, over. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor? Have you got your clearance, Clarence? Thank you, Emperor of Cork. Okay, so I'll count up to 10 this time. And is the sound back or not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Still wonky. Just speaker audio output 1, 2, test mic 1, 2, 1, 2, no, audio box, that's the right one. And Valentina says the sound is gone now, but Brendan says it's back. Alan says it's back, but a bit wobbly. If only I had a crew. Is it possible that there are two mics? Hmm. Oh dear. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, hang on. I have my sound off. Okay, I see what's going on here. I hope this doesn't end the episode. Keep your fingers crossed. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. Yes, okay. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. 1, 2, and a 1, and a 2. What did the drummer name his twin girls? And a 1, and a 2. Yes. Are we back? Rossio says yes. Have we solved the issue? Does it sound normal? Windows 98. Yeah, what about Windows 95? Windows 3.1.1. Back in the room. I think we're okay now. Oh, I'm so sorry. And yet there was much in his life to depress him. For in the triple solitude of age, eccentricity, and deafness, he went about much pestered by children. It was for this very reason, perhaps, that he ever recommended mirth and hopefulness. He was fond, for instance, of telling how Columkill cheered up his mother. "How are you today, mother?" said the saint. "Worse," replied the mother. "May you be worse tomorrow," said the saint. The next day, Columkill came again, and exactly the same conversation took place. But the third day, the mother said, "Better, thank God." And the saint replied, "May you be better tomorrow." He was fond, too, of telling how the judge smiles at the last day alike when he rewards the good and condemns the lost to unceasing flames. He had many strange sights to keep him cheerful or to make him sad. I asked him, had he ever seen the F word? Do I dare even mention it, given we've already had technical issues? I asked him, had he ever seen the fairies, and got the reply, "Am I not annoyed with them?" I asked, too, if he had ever seen the banshee. "I have seen it," he said, "down there by the water, battling the river with its hands." I have copied this account of Paddy Flynn, with a few verbal alterations, from a notebook which I almost filled with his tales and sayings, shortly after seeing him. I look now at the notebook regretfully, for the blank pages at the end will never be filled up. Paddy Flynn is dead. A friend of mine gave him a large bottle of whisky, and though a sober man at most times, the sight of so much liquor filled him with great enthusiasm, and he lived upon it some days and then died. His body, worn out with old age and hard times, could not bear the drink as in his young days. He was a great teller of tales, and unlike our common romancers, knew how to empty heaven, hell, and purgatory, fairyland and earth, to people his stories. He did not live in a shrunken world, but knew of no less ample circumstance than did Homer himself. Perhaps the Gaelic people shall by his like bring back again the ancient simplicity and amplitude of imagination. What is literature but the expression of moods by the vehicle of symbol and incident? And are there not moods which need heaven, hell, purgatory, and fairyland for their expression, no less than this dilapidated earth? Nay, are there not moods which shall find no expression unless there be men who dare to mix heaven, hell, purgatory, and fairyland together, or even to set the heads of beasts to the bodies of men, or to thrust the souls of men into the heart of rocks? Let us go forth, the tellers of tales, and seize whatever prey the heart long for, and have no fear. Everything exists, everything is true, and the earth is only a little dust under our feet. Mark Gordon has joined us. I'm late due to the fact I took a vacation in different time zones. Oh, that's acceptable. Wonderful excuse, by the way. Yes, indeed. So, Dawn says perfect. Okay, so I think we're okay now. People, the feedback is from Anthony's accent. It's well known. Anyone from Dublin has a ding to the accent. How you hear Anthony depends on the county you're from. Emperor of Cork, you do know that I'm not from Dublin. Surprisingly, this place called Drogheda in the county of Louth is not Dublin. Although it has been said from people who are not from the east of Ireland that I do have, there's a sense of a bit of Dublinese, as it were, a little twang. This story is called Belief and Unbelief. So I really love the way Yeats has worded that for us. And I love that. And I often wish that I could write like that, you know. Yes, Emperor of Cork is laughing, but of course, everywhere outside of Cork is the rest of Ireland, and you guys all lump it in together because you, of course, are from the true capital of Ireland, you know. There are some doubters even in the western villages. One woman told me last Christmas that she did not believe either in hell or in ghosts. Hell, she thought, was merely an invention got up by the priests to keep people good. And ghosts would not be permitted, she held, to go traipsing about the earth at their own free will. But there are fairies, she added, and little leprechauns and water horses and fallen angels. I have also met a man with a Mohawk Indian tattooed upon his arm, who held exactly similar beliefs and unbeliefs. No matter what one doubts, one never doubts the fairies. For, as the man with the Mohawk Indian on his arm said to me, quote, they stand to reason, unquote. Even the official mind does not escape this faith. Correct and right, Michael Pike. Baillia Clea is Neidra. A little girl who was at service in the village of Grange, close under the seaward slopes of Benbulben, suddenly disappeared one night about 3 years ago. There was at once great excitement in the neighbourhood, because it was rumoured that the fairies had taken her. A villager was said to have long struggled to hold her from them, but at last they prevailed, and he found nothing in his hands but a broomstick. The local constable was applied to, and he at once instituted a house to house search, and at the same time advised the people to burn all the buckalawns, ragweed, on the field she vanished from, because buckalawns were sacred to the fairies. They spent the whole night burning them, the constable repeating spells the while. In the morning, the little girl was found, the story goes, wandering in the field. She said the fairies had taken her away a great distance, riding on a fairy horse. At last she saw a big river, and the man who had tried to keep her from being carried off was drifting down it. Such are the topsy-turvydums of fairy glamour, in a cockle shell. On the way, her companions had mentioned the names of several people who were about to die shortly in the village. Perhaps the constable was right. It is better, doubtless, to believe much unreason and a little truth, than to deny for denial's sake truth and unreason alike. For when we do this, we have not even a rush candle to guide our steps, not even a poor south to dance before us on the marsh even, and must needs fumble our way into the great emptiness where dwell the misshapen ghouls. And after all, can we come to so great evil if we keep a little fire on our hearths and in our souls, and welcome with open hand whatever of excellent come to warm itself, whether it be man or phantom, and do not say too fiercely, even to the ghouls themselves, be ye gone. When all is said and done, how do we not know but that our own unreason may be better than another's truth? For it has been warmed on our hearts and in our souls, and is ready for the wild bees of truth to hive in it and make their sweet honey. Come into the world again, wild bees, wild bees. Since when did they use broomsticks? Well, this was compiled originally in 1893, Brendan, a little bit before Dyson and Hoover and all of that, you know. Who was it? Desiree. Must be done. And this one is called Mortal Help. You know, so far, these are fairly short. One hears in the old poems of men taken away to help the gods in a battle, and Cuchulainn won the goddess Fand for a while by helping her married sister and her sister's husband to overthrow another nation in the land of promise. I have been told, too, that the people of Faerie cannot even play at hurley unless they have on either side some mortal whose body, or whatever has been put in its place, as the storyteller would say, is asleep at home. Without mortal help, they are shadowy and cannot even strike the balls. One day I was walking over some marshy land in Galway with a friend when we found an old, hard-featured man digging a ditch. My friend had heard that this man had seen a wonderful sight of some kind, and at last we got the story out of him. When he was a boy, he was working one day with about 30 men and women and boys. They were beyond Tuam and not far from Knocknagur. Presently they saw, all 30 of them, and at a distance of about half a mile, some 150 of the people of Faerie. There were two of them, he said, in dark clothes, like people of our own time, who stood about 100 yards from one another, but the others wore clothes of all colours, bracket or checkered, and some with red waistcoats. Now, bracket is spelt here, and it's in inverted commas, Bracket, and presumably, oh, lovely. Just heard a blackbird as the dusk settles. It's getting dark out there. bracket, um, a, a breck from speckled. I presume that's the derivation of that word. He could not see what they were doing, but all might have been playing hurley, for, quote, they looked as if it was that, unquote. Sometimes they would vanish, and then he would almost swear they came back out of the bodies of the two men in dark clothes. These two men were of the size of living men, but the others were small. He saw them for about half an hour, and then the old man he and those about him were working for took up a whip and said, quote, get on, or we will have no work done, unquote. I asked if he saw the fairies too. Oh, yes, but he did not want work he was... Oh, yes, but he did not want work he was paying wages for to be neglected. He made everybody work so hard that nobody saw what happened to the fairies. And this one is called A Visionary. A little bit longer than the last few. Yes, like Bori and Brack. Yes, and very well done on the spelling, Barbara. Exactly. Brack, speckled cake, because it's got all the raisins and currants in it. Brack. So if you've heard of the Brickleave Mountains upon which stand the great Neolithic cairns of Carrowkeel, Brickleave is from Brackleave, a speckled mountain. And Slieve Rua in Loch Crew, also called Carrickbrack, the speckled rock. A visionary. A young man came to see me at my lodgings the other night and began to talk of the making of the earth and the heavens and much else. I questioned him about his life and his doings. He had written many poems and painted many mystical designs since we met last, but latterly had neither written nor painted, for his whole heart was set upon making his mind strong, vigorous, and calm, and the emotional life of the artist was bad for him, he feared. He recited his poems readily, however. He had them all in his memory. Some, indeed, had never been written down. And that, of course, ties in. That's, the old-fashioned custom going back centuries and centuries and centuries, that myths and legends and folklore and poetry and the genealogies, etc., weren't written down, but all committed to memory and recited by heart. They, with their wild music as of winds blowing in the reeds, seemed to me the very inmost voice of Celtic sadness and of Celtic longing for infinite things the world has never seen. Suddenly it seemed to me that he was peering about him a little eagerly. Do you see anything, X? I said, X obviously Xing out his name. A shining winged woman, covered by her long hair, is standing near the doorway, he answered, or some such words. Is it the influence of some living person who thinks of us, and whose thoughts appear to us in that symbolic form? I said, for I am well instructed in the ways of the visionaries and in the fashion of their speech. No, he replied, for if it were the thoughts of a person who is alive, I should feel the living influence in my living body, and my heart would beat and my breath would fail. It is a spirit. It is someone who is dead or who has never lived. I asked what he was doing and found he was a clerk in a large shop. His pleasure, however, was to wander about upon the hills, talking to half-mad and visionary peasants, or to persuade queer and conscience-stricken persons to deliver up the keeping of their troubles into his care. Another night, when I was with him in his own lodging, more than one turned up to talk over their beliefs and disbeliefs, and sun them, as it were, in the subtle light of his mind. I love the wording of some of this. To sun them in the subtle light of his mind. Wonderful stuff. Sometimes visions come to him as he talks with them, And he is rumoured to have told divers people true matters of their past days and distant friends, and left them hushed with dread of their strange teacher, who seems scarce more than a boy, and is so much more subtle than the oldest among them. The poetry he recited me was full of his nature and his visions. Sometimes it told of other lives he believes himself to have lived in other centuries, sometimes of people he had talked to, revealing them to their own minds. I told him I would write an article upon him and it, and was told in turn I might do so if I did not mention his name, for he wished to be always, quote, unknown, obscure, impersonal, unquote. Next day, a bundle of his poems arrived, and with them a note in these words, quote, here are copies of verses you said you liked. I do not think I could ever write or paint any more. I prepare myself for a cycle of other activities in some other life. I will make rigid my roots and branches. It is now my turn to burst into leaves and flowers, unquote. The poems were all endeavours to capture some high, impalpable mood in a net of obscure images. There were fine passages in all, but these were often embedded in thoughts which have evidently a special value to his mind, but are to other men the counters of an unknown coinage. To them they seem merely so much brass or copper or tarnished silver at the best. At other times the beauty of the thought was obscured by careless writing, as though he had suddenly doubted if writing was not a foolish labour. He had frequently illustrated his verses with drawings, in which an imperfect anatomy did not altogether hide extreme beauty of feeling. The fairies in whom he believes have given him many subjects, notably Thomas of Ercildown sitting motionless in the twilight, while a young and beautiful creature leans softly out of the shadow and whispers in his ear. He had delighted above all in strong effects of colour, spirits who have upon their heads, instead of hair, the feathers of peacocks, a phantom reaching from a swirl of flame towards a star, a spirit passing with a globe of iridescent crystal, symbol of the soul, half shut within his hand. Fascinating here because this is the way A.E. George William Russell, who was a friend of Yeats's and part of this Celtic revival, that's how he painted the Tuatha De Danann with like headdresses of feathers and vibrant colours. But always under this largesse of colour lay some tender homily addressed to man's fragile hopes. This spiritual eagerness draws to him all those who, like himself, seek for illumination, or else mourn for a joy that has gone. One of these especially comes to mind. A winter or two ago, he spent much of the night walking up and down upon the mountain, talking to an old peasant who, dumb to most men, poured out his cares for him. Both were unhappy. X, because he had then first decided that art and poetry were not for him, and the old peasant, because his life was ebbing out with no achievement remaining and no hope left for him. Both how Celtic, how full of striving after a something never to be completely expressed in word or deed. The peasant was wandering in his mind with prolonged sorrow. Once he burst out with, God possesses the heavens, God possesses the heavens, but he covets the world. And once he lamented that his old neighbours were gone, and that all had forgotten him. They used to draw a chair to the fire for him in every cabin. And now, they said, who is that old fellow there? The fret, Irish for doom, is over me, he repeated, and then went on to talk once more of God and heaven. More than once also he said, waving his arm towards the mountain, quote, Only myself knows what happened under the thorn tree 40 years ago, unquote. And as he said it, the tears upon his face glistened in the moonlight. This old man always rises before me when I think of X. Both seek, one in wandering sentences, the other in symbolic pictures and subtle allegoric poetry, to express a something that lies beyond the range of expression. And both, if X will forgive me, have within them the vast and vague extravagance that lies at the bottom of the Celtic heart. The peasant visionaries that are, the landlord duelists that were, and the whole hurly-burly of legends. Cuchulainn fighting the sea for 2 days until the waves pass over him and he dies. Huilcha storming the palace of the gods. Oisin seeking in vain for 300 years to appease his insatiable heart with all the pleasures of fairyland. These two mystics walking up and down upon the mountains, uttering the central dreams of their souls in no less dream-laden sentences. And this mind that finds them so interesting, all are a portion of that great Celtic phantasmagoria, whose meaning no man has discovered, nor any angel revealed. Wow. Incredible, isn't it? And if you like that and the mood of that, and if you haven't come across his work, I will read a couple more. Don't worry, we're not finished yet. It would strike me that some of you, perhaps all of you, would enjoy some of the works of the late John Moriarty, because I think Moriarty was trying to express the inexpressible, and he had a very deep Celtic and European soul, and of course he did much comparative work is the wrong word. He did much comparison in his mystical and mythical wanderings with the classical world, but remained wholly rooted to the soil and the mountains and the valleys of Ireland. I really do think, I'll pull down the blind since the light is no longer there, it's gone dark. I really do think that some of you would enjoy immensely the work of John Moriarty. And so, not to get in too densely into some of Moriarty's work, he's quite dense. There is a book that I would recommend as an introduction to Moriarty, and it's called Invoking Ireland, which I think would be a great way to introduce yourself to the work of the late John Moriarty. But certainly, if you've enjoyed the tone and the voice and the melancholy, the pathos of that short chapter that we just read, the one called A Visionary, you'll certainly enjoy Moriarty. And Moriarty, I think, more than anybody in the 20th century, and as much as Yeats and anyone else, was a great visionary. Village Ghosts, this one is called. Actually, this one's a longer one, so I think, yeah, we'll read this and see how we're doing afterwards. But plenty more for at least another 3 or 4 episodes after this. That was so beautiful, says Dawn, and I don't even like words normally. John O'Donoghue, Anam Cara, says Emperor of Cork. Yeah, and I like O'Donoghue's work, and I think he was a man very much in love with the spirit of Irishness, that Celtic soul. However, my own view, and this is just my own view and not to be controversial, I think that O'Donoghue was for the masses, whereas Moriarty was... I think Moriarty was a true poet, and a true visionary, and a true philosopher. I don't think they could be put on an equal footing. That's just my own view. But O'Donoghue's work is beautiful. And I sure look, sure might as well show you my little collection, if I can reach it without stumbling over my typewriter. Quick answer is no, I can't. Yes, my little O'Donoghue collection. Echoes of Memory in paperback. Connemara Blues in hardback. Benedictus, A Book of Blessings in hardback. Divine Beauty, The Invisible Embrace in hardback. Anam Cara, his most famous work, Spiritual Wisdom from the Celtic World in hardback. And Eternal Echoes, Exploring Our Hunger to Belong, also in hardback. That's my little O'Donoghue collection. I have, over the past few years, on and off, been reading Nostos, John Moriarty's autobiography, and it's an indication of how profoundly deep his work is and how extraordinarily complex it is. Complex in a way, but simple in other ways. That I can only read a page or two at a time, and it fills my head and my soul with all sorts of imagery, and it's hard to describe, actually, you know. Rich Medrano says, greetings from your type pal brother in Orlando, Florida. Nice job. Thanks for sharing the written verse. Rich, a very good afternoon to you and a pleasure to meet you. Perhaps we should correspond. A matter of which typewriter I put on the desk. But I have a number of choices, and I imagine you probably have too. Rich, it's a pleasure to see you. Oh yeah, Rich. Yes, we used to chat on the live streams when they were on. Lovely books, yes indeed. Now don't be getting ideas, Barbara Murphy and Lexi and all of you rushing out to start buying loads of piles of books, because I know none of you have any room for any more books, you know. Anne McCallum, I Have a Hut at the Edge of the Village by John Moriarty. Is that the one that what's his name? Oh, the English guy, the beardy, he's brilliant. Martin Shaw. There's a new version of it, is there, or he has written a new introduction to it or something? Yes, indeed. The accent, I'm not sure, Rossio, but does it really matter, the accent? You're all an Irish community, and I think it's beautiful that you have so much variety and shared traditions and culture on your home. Yeah, who mentioned accents? I missed that. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't. There are some people who think that Yeats was too posh. He wasn't a real man of the people, but hey, I love his writing, and I love some of his poems. Oh, Lexi has to leave for a doctor appointment. Have a great week. Thank you, Anthony. And just bought a new 6-foot bookcase. Hey, now you can go out and, you know, buy all of John O'Donoghue's works in hardback. Coda, yes, indeed, is making his voice heard. Not only no room for more books, I bought the oak typewriter desk. You bought the typewriter desk. Brilliant. Have you got a typewriter, Barbara? Is the next question. Would you be clickety-clacketing in the evenings on that typewriter desk? What book by John Moriarty would you recommend reading first? Yeah, well, that was the one I mentioned, Mavanway, the one called Invoking Ireland. I found, well, that was my introduction to Moriarty, and I found it accessible. I find Nostos dense, and there are lots of others. The other one that I have up there is Dreamtime. Dreamtime might be a good one, a good place to start as well. Okay, how long is this one? Okay, better hurry up, because not hurry up, we don't want to rush it, but I better hurry up and start. In the great cities, we see so little of the world. We drift into our minority. In the little towns and villages, there are no minorities. People are not numerous enough. You must see the world there perforce. Every man is himself a class. Every hour carries its new challenge. When you pass the inn at the end of the village, you leave your favourite whimsy behind you, for you will meet no one who can share it. We listen to eloquent speaking, read books and write them, settle all the affairs of the universe. The dumb village multitudes pass on unchanging. The feel of the spade in the hand is no different for all our talk. Good seasons and bad follow each other as of old. The dumb multitudes are no more concerned with us than is the old horse peering through the rusty gate of the village pound. The ancient map makers wrote across unexplored regions, here are lions. Across the villages of fishermen and turners of the earth, so different are these from us, we can write but one line that is certain. Here are ghosts. My ghosts inhabit the village of H in Leinster. Okay, he's not identifying it exactly, so H dash. History has in no manner been burdened by this ancient village, with its crooked lanes, its old abbey churchyard full of long grass, its green background of small fir trees, and its quay where lie a few tarry fishing luggers. In the annals of entomology, it is well known. For a small bay lies westward a little, where he who watches night after night may see a certain rare moth fluttering along the edge of the tide just at the end of evening or the beginning of dawn. 100 years ago, it was carried here from Italy by smugglers in a cargo of silks and laces. If the moth hunter would throw down his net and go hunting for ghost tales or tales of the fairies and such like children of Lilith, he would have need for far less patience. To approach the village at night, a timid man requires great strategy. A man was once heard complaining, "By the cross of Jesus, how shall I go? If I pass by the hill of Dunboy, old Captain Burney might look out on me. If I go round by the water and up by the steps, there is the headless one, and another on the quays, and a new one under the old churchyard wall. If I go right round the other way, Mrs. Stewart is appearing at Hillside Gate, and the devil himself is in the hospital lane." I never heard which spirit he braved, but feel sure it was not the one in the hospital lane. In cholera times, a shed had been set up to receive patients. There set up to receive patients. When the need had gone by, it was pulled down, but ever since the ground where it stood has broken out in ghosts and demons and fairies. There is a farmer at H, Paddy B by name, a man of great strength and a teetotaler. His wife and sister-in-law, musing on his great strength, often wonder what he would do if he drank. One night, when passing through the hospital lane, he saw what he supposed at first to be a tame rabbit. After a little, he found that it was a white cat. When he came near, the creature slowly began to swell larger and larger, and as it grew, he felt his own strength ebbing away, as though it were sucked out of him. Excuse me. He turned and ran. By the hospital lane goes the fairies' path. Every evening they travel from the hill to the sea, from the sea to the hill. At the sea end of their path stands a cottage. One night, Mrs. Arbonathy, who lived there, left her door open as she was expecting her son. Her husband was asleep by the fire. A tall man came in and sat beside him. After he had been sitting there for a while, the woman said, "In the name of God, who are you?" He got up and went out, saying, "Never leave the door open at this hour, or evil may come to you." She woke her husband and told him, "One of the good people has been with us," said he. Probably the man braved Mrs. Stewart at Hillside Gate. When she lived, she was the wife of the Protestant clergyman. Her ghost was never known to harm anyone, say the village people. It is only doing a penance upon the earth. Not far from Hillside Gate, where she haunted, appeared for a short time a much more remarkable spirit. Its haunt was the Boggeen, a green lane leading from the western end of the village. I quote its history at length, a typical village tragedy. In a cottage at the village end of the Boggeen lived a house painter, Jim Montgomery, and his wife. They had several children. He was a little dandy and came of a higher class than his neighbours. His wife was a very big woman. Her husband, who had been expelled from the village choir for drink, gave her a beating one day. Her sister heard of it and came and took down one of the window shutters. Montgomery was neat about everything and had shutters on the outside of every window, and beat him with it, being big and strong like her sister. He threatened to prosecute her. She answered that she would break every bone in his body if he did. She never spoke to her sister again, because she had allowed herself to be beaten by so small a man. Jim Montgomery grew worse and worse. His wife soon began to have not enough to eat. She told no one, for she was very proud. Often, too, she would have no fire on a cold night. If any neighbours came in, she would say she had let the fire out because she was just going to bed. The people about often heard her husband beating her, but she never told anyone. She got very thin. At last, one Saturday, there was no food in the house for herself and the children. She could bear it no longer and went to the priest and asked him for some money. He gave her 30 shillings. Her husband met her, took the money, and beat her. On the following Monday, she got very ill and sent for a Mrs. Kelly. Mrs. Kelly, as soon as she saw her, said, "My woman, you are dying," and sent for the priest and the doctor. She died in an hour. After her death, as Montgomery neglected the children, the landlord had them taken to the workhouse. A few nights after they had gone, Mrs. Kelly was going home through the Boggeen when the ghost of Mrs. Montgomery appeared and followed her. It did not leave her until she reached her own house. She told the priest, Father S., a noted antiquarian, and could not get him to believe her. A few nights afterwards, Mrs. Kelly again met the spirit in the same place. She was in too great terror to go the whole way, but stopped at a neighbour's cottage midway and asked them to let her in. They answered that they were going to bed. She cried out, "In the name of God, let me in, or I will break open the door." They opened, and so she escaped from the ghost. Next day, she told the priest again. This time he believed and said it would follow her until she spoke to it. She met the spirit a third time in the Boggeen. She asked what kept it from its rest. The spirit said that its children must be taken from the workhouse, for none of its relations were ever there before, and that 3 masses were to be said for the repose of its soul. "If my husband does not believe you," she said, "show him that," and touched Mrs. Kelly's wrist with 3 fingers. The places where they touched swelled up and blackened. Then she vanished. For a time, Montgomery would not believe that his wife had appeared. She would not show herself to Mrs. Kelly, he said, she with respectable people to appear to. He was convinced by the 3 marks, and the children were taken from the workhouse. The priest said the masses, and the shade must have been at rest, for it has not since reappeared. Some time afterwards, Jim Montgomery died in the workhouse, having come to great poverty through drink. I know some who believe that they have seen the headless ghost upon the quay, and one who, when he passes the old cemetery wall at night, sees a woman with white borders on her cap creep out and follow him. The apparition only leaves him at his own door. The villagers imagine that she follows him to avenge some wrong. "I will haunt you when I die" is a favourite threat. His wife was once half scared to death by what she considers a demon in the shape of a dog. These are a few of the open-air spirits. The more domestic of their tribe gather within doors, plentiful as swallows under southern eaves. One night, a Mrs. Nolan was watching by her dying child in Floody's Lane. Suddenly there was a sound of knocking heard at the door. She did not open, fearing it was some unhuman thing that knocked. The knocking ceased. After a little, the front door and then the back door burst open and closed again. Her husband went to see what was wrong. He found both doors bolted. The child died. The doors were again opened and closed as before. Then Mrs. Nolan remembered that she'd forgotten to leave window or door open, as the custom is for the departure of the soul. These strange openings and closings and knockings were warnings and reminders from the spirits who attend the dying. The house ghost is usually a harmless and well-meaning creature. It is put up with as long as possible. It brings good luck to those who live with it. I remember 2 children who slept with their mother and sisters and brothers in one small room. In the room was also a ghost. They sold herrings in the Dublin streets and did not mind the ghost much, because they knew they would always sell their fish easily while they slept in the haunted room. I have some acquaintance among the ghost seers of western villages. The Connacht tales are very different from those of Leinster. These H spirits have a gloomy, matter-of-fact way with them. They come to announce a death, to fulfill some obligation, to revenge a wrong, to pay their bills even, as did a fisherman's daughter the other day, and then hasten to their rest. All things they do decently and in order. It is demons and not ghosts that transform themselves into white cats or black dogs. The people who tell the tales are poor, serious-minded fishing people who find in the doings of ghosts the fascination of fear. In the Western tales, it is a whimsical grace, a curious extravagance. The people who recount them live in a most wild and beautiful scenery, under a sky ever loaded and fantastic with flying clouds. There are farmers and labourers who do a little fishing now and then. They do not fear the spirits too much to feel an artistic and humorous pleasure in their doings. The ghosts themselves share in their quaint hilarity. In one western town, on whose deserted wharf the grass grows, these spirits have so much vigour that, when a misbeliever ventured to sleep in a haunted house, I have been told they flung him through the window and his bed after him. In the surrounding villages, the creatures used the most strange disguises. A dead old gentleman robs the cabbages of his own garden in the shape of a large rabbit. A wicked sea captain stayed for years inside the plaster of a cottage wall in the shape of a snipe, making the most horrible noises. He was only dislodged when the wall was broken down. Then out of the solid plaster, the snipe rushed away whistling. Mavanway says that she's not sure this is what you should be listening to before going to bed. Well, I'll tell you what, give yourself an hour before you go to bed and watch something else on Netflix or read something else. Yes, so Desiree had to go to work. Have a fabulous day at work, Desiree. Got it. I was reading about Moriarty this morning and wondered if Anthony had ever read to us. Just checking back on. This is one of the best books we have ever read so far. Yeah, so whatever else people say about Yeats, there'd be mixed views about him because of that real mystical side, and he was involved in the occult. But he and not Lady Wilde, Lady Gregory, collected a lot of lore from the peasantry, and he had I think I've read that before on one of the live streams. He had a great respect for them. I think he saw in the eyes and heard on the voices of the peasantry that universal truth of myth and folklore and fairy tale that is just so much more real than the things that he would have been hearing in the eastern cities like Dublin, for instance, and the language of the merchants and the ones who insist on logic and empiricism and all of that, and who ignore at their peril that other world that is constantly emerging out of the the real telluric earth, as it were, the one that comes to mingle in this one that we sense so much in those tales of old. Anyway, more of that next week. It is a bit of a change, but I think it'll be definitely a good and interesting one. And yeah, you have to remember that, this book was published in the 1890s. This is when Ireland was still under the rule of the British. This is after the famine, when those rural parts of the West would have been emptied out, entire parishes, by emigration and the spectre of starvation and death of the famine, and of course the migrations or emigrations for the decades afterwards. This is before the Rising. This is before Irish independence, and there would have been a marked difference, as there probably was for a much longer period of time, between places like he's mentioned, Galway, Mayo, Connemara, and places like Dublin. Now, that's not to say that folklore and legend wasn't strong in Dublin, but you have to remember the Anglo-Norman influence is much, much stronger in the East. And of course, English was the main language of all of the high and mighty and the important people of the day. It was in the language of, and the colour of that language, and the honesty of it all in the West. The likes of Yeats found something of the remnants of a true Celtic, what he called Celtic, not a word that I tend to use, but a true sort of Celtic soul, yearning for something, something lost or something not yet found. And also our first president, Douglas Douglas Hyde, also collected tales out in the West, and not forgetting the influence that the West had, in particular, on the likes of Seamus Ennis, the famous piper and folklore collector. It seems that out there, not just west of the Shannon, but in the wild and rugged landscapes of the West, there was something that seems to have clung on to bare existence over decades and generations and centuries and even millennia. Something of a Mesolithic, post-glacial soul, And Moriarty, to an extent, captures that. Moriarty was a Kerryman, but he lived out the latter years of his life in Connemara, and had this sense of being at once melancholy at the loneliness of the ruggedness of that place, but also loving it and feeling very vibrantly alive as a poet and a philosopher and a wordsmith. I hope I've made some sense in all of that. This is just what I've gleaned myself from not only the stuff that I've read, but you're always very conscious. It's a funny thing how the history, the very topography, the geography of the place that you inhabit, and the place, in my case, I've been born and bred by the River Boyne here in Drogheda. It's amazing how it influences you in a way that you didn't expect, or that you perhaps never fully recognized or understood. That essentially the town, the city that I've lived in all my life was once an Anglo-Norman stronghold, castellated, walled. And it's almost as if within the walls, the Anglo-Normans, the English, were trying to retain something that they had transplanted there, but that much older than that, still exemplified, for instance, by Amergin being buried at Millmount. Millmount in Drogheda, very well-known Anglo-Norman fortification and British army stronghold. Once a great mound of Brunabonia, according to our myths and legends and folklore, that out of the very earth there is trying to burst out something that's pre-British, pre-Anglo-Norman, pre-Viking, pre-Battle of the Boyne, pre-Cromwell, all of the rest. But you become conscious of the fact that, that out west, that is less an influence. where areas didn't come under the influence of the Anglo-Norman lords, where the old Gaelic order still survived in some measure, at least until the 17th century. And something, as I say, something of an older, poetic, mystical life is to be found there. And I think Moriarty would say, and he's not the only one, that the very landscape, the rocks and the rivers and the trees, the hills, the vales, they will speak to you of that no myth ever dies. It is embedded in the landscape. And so if a poet or a philosopher or a writer or a musician or an artist finds themselves migrating into an area, they find that those stories come alive in them once again, even though they hadn't lived there previously and hadn't been told those stories through verbal means, through oral survival, which is how so many of the tales survived, not only the generations and the centuries, but survived right up into modern times. Does that make any sense? Anyway, yeah, don't forget the Newgrange tours. Post that link again. If any of you are interested in participating, remember that it includes a ticket to the inside of Newgrange. So particularly say to your friends, if they want to visit Newgrange this summer, but they want to see more than Newgrange, they want to explore the myths and monuments of the wider Brunabonia area, in all of those fields between Newgrange and the river, to come and join us on one of those tours. And the meeting point, Johnny, is Newgrange Farm itself, and that's very important. The air code for that is given in the location. So if you go to that link that I've just shared and click on the location, it should open in Google Maps and it'll show you exactly where you should be going, which is to Newgrange Farm. Very important not to go to the Brunabonia Visitor Centre or directly to the Newgrange Monument. That's something that every year somebody ends up going to the Visitor Centre or going to the monument. Oh, I didn't know Erica was in the house. Hello, Erica, and thank you for joining us this evening. I feel like that about Donegal, says Josie. Keith Corcoran has a great couple of books about legends of Donegal and some fairly modern fairy encounters, as well as historic tales. You might share those with me by email, Josie, would you? Not that I need to buy more books. I think I get what you're talking about. I was recently looking into the Ogham stones, and the ones that are the most preserved are the southwest of Ireland, because they didn't have a lot of influence from outsiders. Well, all you have to do is look at ring forts. Look at all the ones that are being discovered here in Leinster that were flattened by ploughing in decades and centuries gone past, versus look at all the ones that are still standing in the West, you know. Can't wait to listen back next week. Slán go fóill. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Josie. Interesting to hear you speak about the West versus the East. Yeah, I think we've spoken about various aspects of that in live streams in the past. It's kind of, it's not intangible as such. It's actually blatantly obvious, but I suppose you would have to over time become aware of various aspects of Irish history, and particularly Anglo-Norman, not just the invasion, but the fact that they fortified the East and the Pale, you know, and that did have an influence on how those towns and cities developed in their later life. And then the influence of the Vikings as well, of course, which is very important. But we'll get to that, because at some point we are going to read Coggo Gael Recollections, and that is the story of the battles between the Irish and the Vikings, you know. It's hard to believe how long Britain was in charge of Ireland. Many centuries indeed. This is fascinating, says Susan Scott. As a child, I lived in an old farmhouse and often heard music and saw lights in a corner of one of the downstairs rooms in the middle of the night. Poltergeist was mentioned. Yes, and I've mentioned before, because it's not the first time we've had ghostly stories in our live stream, I've mentioned before that I grew up in a house that I say haunted was a bad word, because as we saw this evening, you know, some spirits are to be tolerated. They actually mean no harm. But I've had some interesting and unusual experiences in my lifetime, just put it that way. So, which is why I never fall completely on the side of the empiricist who says, give me the evidence, show me the material evidence. Because there's always that otherworldly sense. There's something else that we've all, I think a lot of us have sensed some of it, or seen or heard or experienced something that makes us say, yeah, look, science is great, but it isn't everything, you know. Says every mystic who ever existed. I know. I like the rabbit and the snipe story, says Mavanwi. My grandmother's house had a strange dark figure that was seen walking around the house. There you go. It was all over the place. Yeah. Why is it called the Forgotten County? Moonchild circumflex. 19 # asterisk asks on YouTube. Which county is called? Not that I've forgotten. I don't know if there's a county called the Forgotten County. Thank you, Rossio. Glad you enjoyed them. And we'll see you next week. Yes, indeed. Yes, but it wasn't that old. I mean, so we moved there in the late 1970s when I was quite young, 3 or 4 years of age. And it had only been built in the previous maybe 15 to 20 years. I mean, I think that house was, if it wasn't built in the 60s, it was built in the early 70s. So it wasn't a really old house. However, it was in a very old street and had almost certainly been built to replace a terrace of older houses. Donegal, says Moonshine. Is Donegal called the Forgotten Kid? Well, I suppose, I mean, don't mention the rationalisation of the railways. Donegal used to be well served by rail access. And don't mention motorways and road access. I agree, yes, to an extent. Is that why it's called? Hi, first time from USA. Well, you're very welcome. And please don't forget to come back again. We'll see you at the same time, hopefully, next week. A Cavan man, says Johnny, eats his dinner out of a chest of drawers in case someone comes to the door. True that. Are you reinforcing old-fashioned stereotypes? Debbie Sheehy is here as well. Speaking of reading, yes, on the case. Debbie, a very good evening to you. And a good night, Michael Trott. A very good morning to you. 20, what did you say it was? 22 degrees at 7:15 in the morning. Nice. Send some of it this way, please. Anyway, we'll see you all. Yeah, I agree, Catherine. As do I, by the way. But I think I've told you about that on and off. Mavano is leaving before the ghost chat gets to. Don't worry, I have to put out the bins. Have a good one, people. And don't forget, most importantly, that the parting greeting at the end of the live stream is always the same. Ikawa, have a good night. Kolosov, sound sleep. Slongafol, bye for now. And most importantly, Toga Bugay, take it easy. Barbara Murphy has a nice message too. Have a great week. Shock them off.